Why are we always drawn to such negative titles? I know I am. I think it's because when we see a title that kind of takes a jab at us in some way, shape, or form, we feel the need to go defend that title. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting. So in this video, I want to go over a book. I've owned this book for 5 years. When it comes to reading, I know INFPs are said to be heavy readers. I'm not one of the ones that read a lot of fictional books and things like that. I read a ton. It's a lot of it's articles, short reads, a lot of self-improvement type things, learning how to do things, just all kinds of stuff like in that nature. So I do read a lot, but a lot of times it's not the depth philosophy and all that stuff that resonates with a lot of you guys. That's just not me. So, but this book right here, it's called The Problem Is You. Like I said, it's a very short read. It's very thin. Let's see how many pages this is. 63 pages long, and you can read it under an hour. If you're someone like me with reading and you like start getting into the zone and you read like half the page and you realize you were thinking about something completely different and then you got to reread the whole page again, then it might take you a little longer than that. I try to read it once a year because, again, it's something that it helps hold me accountable for a lot of my negatives. And one of my true beliefs is just, I'm very aware of my negatives. I don't always like to admit them, but I am aware of them. I keep them up on a shelf. I don't sweep them under a rug and just be like, those will eventually go away without me doing anything to them. So I keep a lot of my common negatives that are tied to me more heavily than some. They sit there on that shelf. And I pluck away at them as I go. The more you develop those negatives into more of a positive aspect of different tactics you can take to kind of make them less, you know, maybe not always go away, because all of us have issues. It doesn't matter what type we are. INFPs, I think, you know, there's a lot of negative associations with how we can be.
We don't need anybody's help. We're like this perfect person.
And that's truly not the case. I mean, I'll tell anybody all my problems. Well, I'm not gonna tell everyone all my problems because they'll be like,
dude, you got some issues, we gotta go.
It's just always trying to improve that. So, I mean, this book, again, it's by John Burke, How to Get Out of Your Own Way and Conquer Self-Defeating Behavior. It speaks to you. So I don't like receiving a lot of criticism from people. Obviously, I think a lot of you guys can relate to this part of just a standard criticism type approach.
You know, you don't know me, don't tell me how to fix my life. I can do it all myself in my own privacy, in my own home, in my dark room.
It talks a lot of things. If you read common stereotypes and negative stuff that associates with us, and procrastination, fears of commitment, feelings of responsibilities for others, always fearing a loss of freedom, things like that. This book just really touches on a lot of stuff that's close to me and things I know that always come up in my life. It's a criticism-based type book to where he's not talking down to you, but he's just kind of laying it out in a somewhat direct, soft type approach. And again, if it's too harsh for you, which it's not a harsh book, you can always put it down and go take a break a little bit and come back to it and start reading it again. And for me, it really, I like to put my stuff in front of me because I know I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. And we all have issues to work on. So this book just kind of helps me out with that. And like on the back of this book, the paragraph up here, this book won't help you with your self-defeating behavior. It's easier to spend your life procrastinating, sabotaging relationships, not finishing tasks, fearing of failure, and keeping other bad habits than it is to change. Just stay the way you are. This is how the voice of self-defeating behavior works on you. It works against your goals and interests in a way that you never get what you want. Opportunities are missed, your habits continue, your relationships don't flourish, and your life becomes one big regret. But table of contents, there's 5 chapters. Chapter 1, what is self-defeating behavior? Chapter 2, characteristics of self-defeating behavior. Chapter 3, the origin of incorrect beliefs. Chapter 4, how to recognize and diminish self-defeating behavior. Chapter 5, creating the path to success. So it does lay out a bunch of things of just what these are. If self-defeating behavior will start this pattern, it's typically a step type process that if we kind of know we're leading down that path before we get to the whole process of spending months and months and months of just going down this, we have the ability, if we actually truly know the patterns, we can stop it sooner than later. And just, you know, take a step back and be like, hold on, I'm being destructive here to myself. And obviously that's not going to lead to happiness because, you know, this is helping me kind of understand the pathway and I don't want to be unhappy for a long period of time. So I'm going to stop at step 2 and then just really try to focus on these things, and then, you know, I can come out of it. The introduction here, again, it's giving you a taste of this book, and again, I'm sure they have it for the digital copy. I got this one off Amazon. It's under 10 bucks. I feel like I'm trapped in a revolving door. Nothing I've ever done has felt successful. I am beginning to hate myself. I'm cursed. Millions among us suffer from depression, low self-esteem, anxiety, and addictive disorders based solely on the fact that we feel like failures. We strive for success only to feel as if there is a wall preventing us from ever taking a step forward. We face setback after setback and cannot understand how those around us seem capable of moving forward. Self-sabotage is a term that refers to the act of shooting oneself in the foot, as they say. For whatever reason or another, there are those among us who habitually prevent ourselves from fulfilling our full potential based solely on our fears. Fears of failure, fears of inadequacy. You guys know what I just said. Even fears of success can prevent us from moving forward. Even when we believe we are making every attempt to do our best. Now, there's a period right there, so I read that sentence wrong. Understanding self-sabotage means looking at our own behaviors and the fears that lie beneath them. Overcoming self-destructive behaviors means committing to opening ourselves beyond those fears. No one has to live a life in lonely solitude, driven by the inner critics in their heads. I have a lot of critics in my head. There's like a whole bunch of them up there. Fatigue and discouragement set in because you feel like you have tried enough. That's that perfectionist thing. You sit there and put all this effort into it. No one appreciates the work, or you don't finish it or whatever, and then you just give up and you just go stress eat, or you go stress buy in my case. I do both of those. But those two things I just said, stress eating, stress buying, those are part of self-defeating behavior where it's just like, hey, you know what? No one cares. So it also doesn't matter if I eat this whole tub of ice cream because it really doesn't matter. And I do have those breakdowns. I mean, I think it doesn't matter what type you are. You're going to have things like that to where you might not be a stress eater or stress buyer. You might have something else going on that you run to whenever things are rough and low and things like that. You're gonna run to a couple different items that bring you short-term satisfaction that ultimately is just a revolving door to unhappiness. And really just keeping that thing really close to you and be like, hey, this is a problem for me and it's ruining my life, and just keep whittling it down to just where you can just break free of that thing. Whatever the underlying issues of that thing, it's typically something that happens from whatever you're doing. It's just there's something underlying, so you got to take care of that and work on that underlying issue, and then you can become, you know, you can kind of be relieved, if not completely relieved, of that habit that's causing you a bunch of harm in your life. So here's one. Some of these habits that can be causing self-defeating behavior in your life include addiction to struggle, believing change is hard, one setback and you give up, not starting on time, exaggerating reality, false hope, believing negative people, remaining in the past, lack of a schedule, how to overcome incorrect beliefs, identify and accept, take responsibility, positive self-talk. So I'm reading the whole book apparently. So conclusion, you may be someone who has always had plans to make a new start in their career, marriage, or even business. At the initial stages, you get excited about the prospect of becoming better, but suddenly some unforeseen mental roadblocks show up and you are unable to go on. Soon thereafter, you get frustrated and defeat follows in quick succession. For a long time, you may not have known what caused all this. Self-defeating behavior is the enemy within, the enemy that ignites all matters of insecurities, fears, and perceptions of failure. The enemy that prevents you from reaching those noble goals that you have always had. You don't have to feel anxious, depressed, or angry anymore because each of these self-defeatist behaviors can be overcome. You can regain your self-confidence and drive away all those fears that have always held you back. All you need to do is take responsibility for your life, accept your weaknesses, and work your way out of it, giving yourself sufficient time to overcome. A lot of this stuff is just, it's talking to myself. I mean, it's weird. I can just, when I get to go back and edit myself, I can be like, hey, you told a bunch of people that, and so it's like I get to watch myself telling myself to keep on working on it, buddy, because you got issues that you got to overcome too. And that's what it is. It's just not, you know, being that person who's like,
oh, I don't need any help. I got it all figured out. I'm going to go, no one can help me.
And I may do that from time to time outwardly in the real world, but when I'm at home and in my, you know, processing time, and I am going to take those negative things and put them right here. Take them off that shelf and put them in front of me and just, all right, it's me and you, buddy. Let's do this. And I just try to whittle them down, and they're still there, but, you know, at least I'm shaving stuff off to make them, you know, smaller. So recommend the read. It doesn't have any pictures in it, so if you like pictures, you could probably draw in there and doodle. It's got mixed reviews on Amazon things. Some people, you know, say it's really great, and then some people give it like 1 star and say this thing's full lack of substance and things like that. So it's gonna go either way. Everyone's gonna look at it differently. For me, it's something that I enjoy, and I try to read at least once a year just to kind of amplify my issues and just hit myself between the eyes and just be like, you gotta go back to this now. So appreciate you guys watching the video. I will let you guys go, and you guys have a great evening, because it's evening here, and one of these days I'll be able to finish YouTube videos like not very awkward like I'm doing now. So take care.